We'll dive into the next film that came out 2 years after this, which is Signs. So Signs, we have a 5-star from Doug, from
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, brother.
From Seth, and then Owen and George, another classic. Like, they have the same opinion on every film. They both gave it a 3.5 star. Don't shoot me. I was planning on watching it yesterday. Did not get to it, so I have not seen Signs yet.
Bro,
which I know
if I
is
knew
like
you didn't
everyone's
watch,
favorite.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, basically yesterday I was like, I need to watch Signs. I need to watch The Village and The Visit, and I need to watch Edge of Tomorrow. So I have 4 films to watch. Didn't get to any of them because by the time I finished editing yesterday's ReelTok podcast, my fiance and I had plans that night, and like it just went way longer than expected. I didn't get home until like 1:30. I turned on Signs for 20 minutes. I was like, I got to be up in 3 hours to record again. Like, it's just not happening, fellas. Like, I'm not going to get to it. But again, like, time traveling, like I mentioned in our Edge of Tomorrow review, where like for the listeners, like I will have watched Edge of Tomorrow by the time you hear our review on it. For Signs, The Village, and The Visit, 100% for sure. Like, they will be logged, ranked in my list, reviewed on Letterboxd before this episode actually goes up. For this discussion right now, I'll remove myself from the Signs talk, kick it off with, honestly, any of the 5-star folks, and we'll get into Owen and George.
All right, Kevin, let's cook right now. This movie rocks.
I mean, this movie transcends an M. Night ranking for me. This is like one of my 20 favorite movies ever.
Is this the best movie about aliens ever made?
Yeah.
No.
Aliens. Alien.
I mean, yeah. For me, it is.
Alien Covenant.
Unless there's like a movie about aliens in my favorite movies, I just can't.
To be fair, Alien Covenant is great. So
holy shit! I mean, is this the best movie about God ever made?
Silence.
Yeah, I know. I'm being a little silly, but
I'm agreeing.
I'm the same with Kevin. This is like not only my favorite M. Night film. I think this is. I obviously redid my list recently. This gets in my top 20 of all time. I don't know, man. Signs is one of the ones I grew up with. I rewatched it like fairly recently after a few years. I just think it's such a beautiful film on faith, on family. I think I get why people don't like the ending, but I think people are so. The criticism regarding the aliens in this film, I think people miss the point completely in my eyes, and I really, really do. I get why people don't like it. Don't get me wrong. And again, this isn't for everyone, but I think people do really miss what the film is based on, what the film is for, and what it's about. And the aliens aren't the central topic of discussion here. But yeah, same as Kevin, this kind of transcends my M. Night ranking. This really is, the number one by like a long way. It's my only 5-star.
What if I say this might not even be my favorite M. Night?
That's fine. It's just wrong, but it's fine.
It's wrong.
No, but this movie's so good. I think this is like, best Mel Gibson performance probably for me.
Yeah.
Like best M. Night performance. We haven't even talked about how M. Night's in a lot of these movies.
I love him in this film. Just the guy.
He's like really good in this movie.
He is. I would agree with you.
Is also awesome in this movie.
And there's like, so there's like an interesting kind of like meta aspect to Signs 2, where it's like, so M. Night, the filmmaker, like the auteur of Signs, right, is also the character in Signs that causes the Mel Gibson character like this fucking psychic damage, right? Like his character does in the movie, but then also as a filmmaker, he's doing it to the character, and that's interesting.
That's interesting, actually.
This movie is really fucking cool. I just like I when I rewatched it yesterday, I saw this in my review, but I was like, the first hour of this movie or whatever, like maybe hour, like a little over an hour, is just like really cool, like thriller, like awesome, like high tension moments. The comedy fucking rocks. Like I'm just laughing at every single joke. It's so funny. And then there's just like 30 minutes at the end of this movie where I just don't stop crying for 30 minutes straight. And I remember when I wrote that review, someone commented and they were like, I must have watched the wrong cut of this movie. I'm like, do you guys not get emotional when you watch it? Like there are like six scenes in a row that are like literally the most touching displays of like love between family members that I've ever seen. Like there are so many good, when he's like telling his kids like what happened when they were born while these aliens are trying to invade them. I'm like, oh, this is so good.
This movie's also like continues his like motif with water. Like M. Night's kind of like fascination with water in a big way with this. I mean, throughout the movie, but like the big scene at the end where it's like all the water cups are around and the alien shows up.
And I also
and it like represents like holy water and
I also just think it's really beautiful that it's like a movie that's like, obviously you say it's one of the best movies about religion, and like definitely a fair interpretation. I think as somebody who doesn't care about that, it's also just like a movie that it like is just like a really nice movie about faith, like regardless of what you believe in. Like it's just like a really hopeful movie about just like believing in something.
Yeah.
Real.
Did I watch a different cut of this movie than you?
Okay.
Just out of curiosity.
Okay.
No, me and Owen always on the same wavelength. Obviously, we
Wavelength.
Yeah.
Hey yo.
Oh,
Michael Snow. Wait, we got a bunch of Michael Snow
George already forgot that movie
I
exists.
forgot. I was like, I thought you were talking about the number game that I see on TikTok all the time. No, I like Signs. It's one of my 3.5 out of 5s for M. Night. It's sitting just behind The Sixth Sense at number 4. I think the reasons Kevin loves this movie are the reasons that hold it back for me. I love that this movie is kind of introduced to you as this very tense, unpredictable thriller comedy kind of movie. And then it just takes such a turn at the end where M. Night's really trying to kind of like shove these thematic elements down your throat. And I think it comes off not as personal and intimate as you guys obviously make it out to be. And maybe it just didn't land for me. Maybe I watched it in the wrong mindset, but none of this movie, like towards the.
If that's how you feel now, wait till we get to The Happening.
Yeah,
That's going to be a great discussion.
I'm going to stay fully silent for that entire conversation. I'm going to turn my camera off. I'm going to go walk my dog while you guys talk about the fucking Happening. But no, it still sits at my number 4 spot. It's definitely another M. Night I'm due for a rewatch on. Yeah, 3.5 out of 5. I'm not here to shit on Signs because M. Night has plenty of other films that I'm definitely gonna work into.
I'm keen to hear, Owen, your thoughts on Signs compared to the other films.
Yeah, so Signs, we're kind of just like talking about stuff that's at the bottom of my list right now because I think M. Night's really just gotten better over time. There's this interview with, I don't know what it's called, but he's just like talking about movies. And he's talking about filming his show, so I think it's Servants.
Yeah.
And he just talks about Severance or whatever. He's talking about his show, right? And he's talking about just the amount of filming he gets to do on that show and just the amount of stuff he learns just from filming over and over and over again. And I just truly just think he's just gotten better as a filmmaker, a pure filmmaker over time. So a lot of this is just more at the end of my ranking. But
Visually, I probably agree. Like in terms
I really do like Signs. It's one of the things where I think this could definitely go up for me in a couple of years, just on more rewatches. It's one that I just really like, but I just really love a lot of the other ones. So it's like it's not one of my favorites, but I do really like it. I think the performances are great. I love M. Night here. It's just overall isn't one that I really think about that much or gravitate towards.
So where does this land on your ranking? Sorry,
I think 10th.
So that's 11th. Like high for you at 10th. So
yeah,
this must be your highest average direct. Is it higher than like Brian De Palma in terms of the averages?
Because
it must be
it's like pretty much the
apples
same.
and oranges, buddy.
Yeah,
like
pretty much the same. Well, it's like it's because we're talking about like Sixth Sense is like 11, then you have Signs at 10, and then Unbreakable at 9. Like these are all kind of in the same area for me. But kind of what we're talking about with the water thing, I think the family thing is really big for M. Night. I think family, I think father-son stuff.
That's what I was gonna say. Like the biggest like thematic through line between like these first 3 like real films for him are like they're all about being a dad, you know?
Yeah.
Like all of them are about
I was going to
fatherhood.
mention it. I didn't get to mention it for Unbreakable, but that's one of the things that really works for me for Unbreakable is the father-son thing, and we'll get to After Earth later, but I think there's this father-son thing that really works for me. It doesn't work for me as much in Signs, but when it does work, those tend to be some of my favorite moments of M. Night. So I think the water stuff, I think the faith stuff, and then like the father-son family stuff really works for me here.
Can you guys, and this is a serious question, can you explain to me, because between Signs and Lady in the Water, M. Night seems to have this weird like infatuation with writing himself into his own movies as this like messiah kind of figure?
Well, here's the thing. Okay,
and that's not like that's not a criticism. That's like a genuine question.
I think that don't you think that like the director is kind of like the god of like a film, right?
Like I get that, but like my thought is like it's such like a, I don't even know what word to use it. It's such like a pretentious thing to do, I guess. Not pretentious, but it's like we get it. Like, you're the director. This is your movie. You're obviously, you know, later in his career, he has so much creative freedom here and there.
I mean,
I think that Signs, it works really well because it's a very small role that is very powerful, and I think it's like really interesting when you consider the fact that he is like the writer director. I think Lady in the Water makes sense because Lady in the Water is like the all-time. This is a one for me. It's like I just made a bunch of movies. I made a bunch of money. I'm gonna make whatever the fuck I need to make right now, and that is him just making a whole ass movie about himself.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it makes sense in Lady in the
We can
Water.
get to that later, but I think Lady in the Water, he's talked about this on record, that is his most personal film. So I guess it makes sense. But is that a negative for you? When
No.
he comes on the
It's
screen?
not a criticism.
Okay.
It's just something, because like in my mind, I'm thinking like, imagine if like the Russo brothers wrote themselves into a Marvel. You guys would be losing
They
your
did.
fucking minds.
What's his name is in like?
Oh yeah,
Endgame.
he's in Endgame. Yeah,
Is he?
yeah.
I didn't even know that.
One of them's at the beginning in like the therapy class. But yeah,
Well, George, one thing I'm interested to pull on that for you, because like you just talked about on the pod the other week, Cooper Rafe, like his 2 films, he's like basically
he's
writes
everything.
himself in to be like
That's an issue I have with people.
to have like women, like he's always just like gets whatever like the lead actress is to be like his like girl basically in all his movies.
Yeah.
So I was kind of interested, like,
Well,
why-
Tarantino.
do you think it's just a
his stuff too?
I mean, Woody Allen, we all love him.
So do you think it's just like a matter of like if you like the movie, and I'm not saying this like as like a gotcha. I'm saying like if you like the movie and the director's in it, you can kind of let it slide. But if you dislike it and the director's in it, you're kind of more like.
But again,
fine,
I
that was
don't
good.
dislike the fact that M. Night writes himself into his movie. It's just very interesting that he always does it, and he always like puts himself in as like this messiah figure, as opposed to just like a dude.
I think if you talk about writing as well, it's just something that you gravitate towards. I mean, like in my writing, like I'm always writing. When I was in school and even now, like a lot of my scripts are just like reflective of my real life. Like I just take things that happen to me and I turn them into a story. And I think people just gravitate towards doing that. And there are obviously M. Night has some movies that aren't that, but I don't ever like think that that's. I just think that that's natural for artists to want to tell stories about themselves because it's how you know, deal with stuff going on in your life is to make art. And sometimes that's just a direct reflection of who you are.
I think with M. Night too, this is God. There's so much unwarranted criticism, and I think a big one is this whole like, oh, M. Night needs to stop forcing himself into his movies as an actor.
It's not a criticism from me.
No, I'm not saying from you.
I'm
but
not
like that's something I've heard a lot from fucking like brainlets on YouTube. Is like where it's like, oh, like he's such a bad actor, he has to stop forcing himself in movies. I think it's just like M. Night likes to act. I think that he enjoys being an actor, right? And I think that he just like after he writes the movie, I think he like looks at everything, and I think he looks and he's like, is there a role I could just have? Like, is there like a role that I can like just like fill in here? Yeah. I think the only time he really did like write himself into the movie was Lady in the Water. I think every other time he's in the movie, he's just like, I could do this.
Kind of what Kevin was saying about the personal stuff. I think when you look at his filmography in the movies that he's not in, they're often the movies that are not very personal. Like he's not in Avatar. He's not in. I don't think he's in Wide Awake.
He's not in After Earth.
He's not in After Earth.
Yeah.
So it's like these movies that he's making to just make. He's not in them because he's not in them necessarily.
He's not the story.
Yeah. So I think it's like there's a lot of directors that do it. I think it's similar to kind of when Tarantino likes to act, so he's just going to act in his movies because he likes to act, and he's making a movie and he's like, this is movies, like let's act in them. I think it's just kind of that thing where he just likes to act, and they're very personal movies.
Tarantino also likes to suck on toes.
That is.
I mean,
true.
yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah, so I just think it's a very personal movie that it's easy to insert yourself in a very personal situation.